Imagine you're sitting at a round table with an odd number of people, including yourself. You're discussing a matter, and everyone must display their vote as either yes or no. But there's a catch. If both of your neighbors voted opposite to you, you have to change your vote. But if at least one of your neighbors voted the same as you get to keep your initial vote. And this rule applies to everyone at the table. The question is, after some time of following this procedure, prove that we will reach a point where we stop changing votes. No one will change their vote after this point again. Let's illustrate with an example. Remember that there is an odd number of people, so let's try 7 people. Each one will vote by either yes or no. We'll abbreviate that to either Y or N. Okay. Now that everyone has voted, let's run the procedure, starting with this person. He chose yes, but both of his neighbors voted no, so he has to change his vote. This one will keep his no because one of his neighbors voted the same as him. The same thing with this one, but this guy will change because both of his neighbors voted opposite to him. Same thing with this guy, and this guy. Now, this is what we got. We do the same procedure again. Clearly, these guys won't change their vote. But these will. So we get a table where everyone is voting no, except this guy. But in the next voting, he must change his vote. So finally, we get a table where everyone is voting no. Notice now that no one will ever change his vote again because everyone is voting the same thing. The problem claims that this will happen for any number of people, as long as it's odd, and any initial voting you start with. In our previous example, we ended up with everyone voting no at the end. So you might be tempted to say that this will happen every time. But that's not true. In fact, using the same number of people, 7, we can create a counterexample with this initial voting, which turns into this, and it stops here. As you can see, not all votes are the same. We don't always end up with the same votes. So yeah, that was a point I wanted to make clear. Okay, now that we understand the problem, how are we going to solve it? Where do we even start? Well, I want you to first realize something. When 2 neighbors vote the same vote, their vote stays the same. It never changes. In fact, every block of people having the same vote won't change. This is, of course, obvious by the rules, but it's actually the first step towards solving this problem. This is really helpful. You can now look at initial votings like this and immediately conclude that they won't change. From now on, we'll call a person good if they have at least one neighbor who voted the same as them. These are the ones who don't change their vote. A bad person is one whose neighbors both voted opposite to them. These people have to change their vote. For example, this is a good person. Same thing with this. All of these people right here are good people, but this is a bad person. So is this guy. Of course, a bad person can turn into a good person, but the opposite can never happen. Now take a look at this initial voting. I want you to keep an eye on these bad people here, between these 2 blocks of good people. Initially, it contains 0 good people. But notice how the amount of good people in it increases with each step, until eventually everyone is a good person and the votes stabilize. This observation finishes the problem. Here's how to formalize everything we said here. Start with any initial voting. Because the number of people is odd, we're guaranteed to have at least 2 good people. Think about if for a moment. Now divide this circle into regions of good people and regions of bad people. Because we're in a circle, every region of bad people should be enclosed by 2 regions of good people. If we have only 1 region of good people, it can act as 2 regions because, again, we're in a circle. Now take a look at these borders here. They always contain opposite votes. But since these are bad people, they will change their vote. Look, we increased the number of good people. Now we draw new borders, and we continue our process until everyone is good person. Once that happens, no one will change their vote, and we finish. This process can be applied to any number of people and any initial voting. And that's the solution. Thank you.